Webcam microphone up close.
Webcam microphone up close.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
See, but I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, that guy, how can that be possible? The brain, pistols and frontal slap of choice, I don't know, computers, internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the cartoon comes from as long as it's real. It's hard to get real information. Because seriously, they don't want you to have these two sources whenever I try to prove out. It's not. If you expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to sadly disappoint another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty, dirty old man, huh?
Really? Can't be serious. Is this really want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions? Eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of...
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Pima Region 2, within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America. We bring you the Ochelli Effect.
I damn sure know I'm an original.
We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for a 19-year-old girl to eventually get up to gumption to put these things out. And I gotta say, that is definitely that, live on UCY.TV radio. The Ochelli Effect. And I am your host, Chuck Ochelli. Anyhow, boy, oh boy, the best laid plans of the blind man always come to interesting fruition just before I go to air. Of course, system crash, problem with trying to get my guest on who needs to call in through the phones, and I've got no phones. So, what am I going to do? Well, I'm just going to grab one of my friends, and you guys know him, and, I don't know how much you guys love him or hate him, but hey, since he's one of my friends, probably you hate him. It's all right, though. I don't mind. All I'm trying to do is get out some information. I want to thank everybody for tuning in across the different ways that you can tune in, like the TuneIn app, like the Shoutcast, like the iTunes thing, like going to ucy.tv/TOE and hanging out in the chat room and all that kind of good stuff. We are live on Saturday nights. So, as I was saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with these 2 hours now because I had a whole thing planned and, like I said, computer crashes and all that other fun stuff. Hey, I'm lucky to even be on the air, right? So, in just a second, I guess we'll have Dylan Wade. If the Skype cooperates, maybe that'll crash on me too. That's enjoyable. So, what did I see? Well, let's see. I was, of course, tuning through different things and checking out different videos. I, of course, saw Montel Williams testifying before Congress about PTSD and choking up and crying every few seconds. If you don't believe me, go look for it. You'll find it. Regarding some certain case there. I mean, I only saw excerpts because I don't watch TV. But, and who the hell watches C-SPAN anyway? Wow.
Very few people.
Hey, there he is, Dylan Wade. How you doing, Dylan?
Pretty good, Chuck. Pretty good.
I was just explaining that computer crashes, miscommunications. I didn't get the phone lines. I'm all kinds of just having a fun-filled day, sir. And, makes loads of sense, doesn't it?
Well, if it's technology failure, then yes. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, of course, and you know, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure if it's the Ochelli curse of technology or what. But if you ever notice, whenever I need something to just go the right way, it absolutely does not, sir.
Well, I hope if you're producing the Ochelli curse reverses.
Well, you know, I don't know because I'm telling you, man, you may be in for some trouble. I'm supposed to produce Dylan's show on the Liberty Beacon Network, which is launching this upcoming week. So I know he's hoping that I don't have the same troubles with his show that I have with my own. But the joke might be on you, sir. You know.
I'm always in for a good laugh, even when it's about me.
Well, you know what? If you can't laugh at yourself, then really, what
Who
else
can
can
you laugh at?
Right, right. So, should we give the listeners what they want? I think we should give the listeners what they want. Ready?
Do they want more JFK?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody wants that out of me anymore. But I'm always willing to do it. Okay, just in case. I mean, if somebody is on my Skype list because I don't have the phones, but if somebody's on my Skype list and you want to jump in with some JFK questions, I'll always entertain those. And it's very very I should start like a game, like stump Chuck, right? Which is kind of funny because there used to be this thing I used to say about a stump and. That's an odd insult thing, and I'll get into that. I'll get into that a little later. But I think we should give the listeners what they want because all across the alternative streams, all across the mainstreams, what are we getting? Ebola in America. Ebola. Be afraid. Be very afraid because Ebola is everywhere. They just let people go from the Newark airport. We have the situation in Dallas. We have the reported possible cases of Ebola. And absolutely,
Woohoo.
we have to be afraid. We have to be afraid. We have to be afraid. We have to get the vaccines. We have to submit. Be very afraid. Stay away from your neighbors. Don't go anywhere near them. You know what the problem is, Dylan?
If there's a lot of them, narrow it down a bit.
Okay, well, about this particular subject, I mean, yes, you are correct again, sir. There are plenty of problems out there that we could definitely sit and exhaust here over and over and over again. And by the way, just for you, those of you out there who are not getting your Ebola fear fix, Ebola, okay? I'm sick and tired of it. We were talking about these stories in the outbreak in Africa on this network on UCY.tv. We were talking about it months ago, and this is true, and I participated in it. And I've even got to say that it does seem like a logical thing that they would test a biological weapon on the Dark Continent, because after all, that is the acceptable place to test most of your biological weapons. Yeah. But no. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I took a lot of crap on two different roundtable shows last night because I do this crazy thing where I go on other networks. Sometimes networks I try and get myself invited on just because I know I'm going to be the token anarchist, okay? And I go on there.
You?
Yeah, I'm the token anarchist because...
You're the least anarchy-oriented person I know.
Oh, that's not necessarily true, sir. You don't know. I mean, I don't believe that the government is legitimate. I don't believe that, that we require all these rules and regulations to behave ourselves. I have a friend who often says to me that we need to begin to train ourselves to ignore the government and to not care about them because they do not care about you. And I agree with them,
Amen.
1,000%. And I can't tell you how I'd really like to see all of this just come to a big old crashing halt. But
you're gonna take a lot of slack for that.
No, not at all. Not at all. The Constitution is a wonderful document, but it has failed to do what it was supposed to do. And unfortunately, we're supposed to follow, what was laid out by those founding father terrorists that we had, and they were renegade terrorist type individuals. I mean, let's look at history realistically. They were standing up against the king, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, doesn't that sound like sedition? Yeah, it actually is. And okay. And I agree with them. But you know what? So back to what I was saying. Because I don't even want to get off into that because it becomes the winding road that never stops winding. And it's just...
Got that right. All right. So
I'm the token anarchist. Okay. I was also on. I'm not even going to mention the network where I'm the token anarchist now and then. I'll just leave that alone. I'm just a random punching bag for these idiots that happen to want to argue over, whether Obama is a great man or a good man or.
Oh, Chuck, now you have to tell me what network this is.
Off the air because I refuse to promote them.
All right, off air. Because I want to go there and beat some people up or get beat up.
No, you don't. It's
Nah.
it's just such a waste. Just go to MSNBC and start writing comments on their website, and talk about what you believe in, Dylan. And trust me, you will garner some abuse. I mean, look, if you want to be, the type of masochist that I am, by all means, go to MSNBC. That's a good starting point because they're not very bright, so they may not be able to sting you too hard. All right.
Well, if these guys are arguing over those types of issues, are they really?
Yeah, well, just go to the Rachel Maddow section. You'll enjoy yourself very much. So,
how did we get here?
How did we get here? Right. So I'm the token anarchist. Okay, but I was also on with the Friday Night Super Show with Truth Emerges and NWO Truth Radio. And all that kind of good stuff, and a lot of interesting people popped in on that one, and there was kind of a silence, and then sort of ignoring me after I said what I thought about the whole, Ebola scare. Okay, and oh yeah, just for the listeners that really still want that, be afraid, be very afraid. Ebola in America, Ebola in America, Ebola in America, Ebola in America. Okay, thank you. Now I'm done.
You're not.
No, of course not. And I have to give you your fear porn, dose for the day. I mean, why not? Who would I be if I didn't? Okay. Enough with the snide remarks. Here's the bottom line.
You're not done with those either.
No, I'm not. But for now, I'm going to put them aside.
Sorry, can't resist.
I know, but you're getting to know me too well. This is not good. Not good at all. See, because I might become predictable in your eyes, and that just makes me way more of an old man than I want to be, Dylan. And I know I'm an old man compared to you, but oh, Lord. By the way, Dylan is the guy who you can find at The Truth Speaks. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Shake and Wake Radio, and very, very soon.
And also you can find me on a new network, CJ Mars. I'm on there 3 to 4 Eastern on Saturday.
There you go. Okay. Plus, Dylan is also going to be on the Liberty Beacon Network very soon. Okay.
Oh, I'm getting a lot of shows. I'm going to get burnt out.
Yeah, well, welcome to the nightmare. So, my view on Ebola, which I keep digressing from because, after all, I just can't stand taking the abuse for it. But I gotta say
really? it. You talk about it so much that I think you enjoyed it. I think you enjoy it.
Well, what's funny to me is that these guys who can see the Zionist conspiracy in everything, who can see the Masonic conspiracy in everything, who can see the satanic arts at work in the public place, who can see the so-called war on Christianity and all this other stuff, who still believe that, ISIS may be very well dangerous, even though we actually created them, and all that kind of stuff. It amazes me that when I said, that Ebola to me is no different than SARS, is no different than the bird flu, is no different than the swine flu, is no different than the AIDS propaganda, all this stuff going back, and I know some of this is before your time, Dylan, but bear with me.
So far, I see no problem in what you've said.
But it's all the same, and you know what happened with all those things?
It died down.
Not only did it die down as far as the mainstream went, and even as far as the panic attack alternate, media out there went, but I mean, quite honestly, where's the body count? How many people died?
More than in this scenario.
Well, right, but realistically, where's the pandemic?
Nowhere.
Where's the Contagion? Where's the Outbreak, the movie? starring Dustin Hoffman. Where is the...
That wasn't a horrible movie, actually.
No, great stuff. Great stuff. I'm not going to move, General. Definitely a Contagion. Okay.
It had redeeming elements.
Well, look, man, I can't help it. I see Dustin Hoffman. I forever see him as Rain Man. I can't take him. All right. Anyway.
If you can't tell, we love movies.
Yeah, that's another thing, and something that we should probably get into. And you know what? Hell, we could even do that tonight, Dylan, because as usual, I've got no script and very little of a plan. I was actually going to have a gentleman on from silverdoctors.com, and because of certain snafus, I can't have him on. So I'm going to reschedule with him because he was really cool, and I accidentally got in touch with him the other night because, oddly enough, another phone forwarding fiasco. But what happened was he thought he was calling up Chuck Horton, and he got me. So, so I answer an odd call on my Skype, and he says, "Hello, Chuck." And I went, "Okay." And he sort of sounded like a guest I had on before, who I was thinking about bringing back actually this week. And the thing is, he says, "Well, I'm ready to go." And I said, "Well, I don't have a show until Saturday. But, I just got done doing my show." And then he mentioned something that was completely out of context about an interview with Cliven Bundy. And I went, wait a minute. This guy that I know I had been talking to before had nothing to do with Cliven Bundy. Okay. And therefore, this makes no sense. And I went, wait a minute. Who are you actually trying to get a hold of? And it turns out that he was trying to get a hold of Chuck Horton.
You're just a ton of technical issues put into one. Chuck, did I lose you?
No, you didn't lose me, Dylan. You didn't lose me. I was just, I had to find something out. Just, you know what?
You're a ton of technical issues put into one.
Yeah, just fill for me a second. You know what? Tell everybody about exactly what times you're on Shake and Wake, and also on the new network, and what it is you plan to do with your next couple of shows. You got some shows coming up. I mean, you got any plans?
Not really, actually. I've just been doing a lot of roundtables. You can find me on Shake and Wake Wednesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, Saturdays 5 to 7 Eastern Standard. You can find me on the new network, CJ Mars, 3 to 4 Eastern, and I still don't have my time slot for the Liberty Beacon network. That took up a lot less time than I thought.
Yeah, well, of course it does. Okay, so
did I cover enough?
No, you did. And what happened was I was just trying to handle really quickly because I had the guest that was supposed to be on calling me on a landline. So that's what I was doing. So I apologize. But
no problem, Jeff.
So back to my chaotic stream of consciousness, as it were. So, oh yeah, right. The Ebola thing. Yeah, oh, right.
We keep digressing from it.
One more time. Ebola. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And you should be afraid of hemorrhagic fever. I mean, let's be realistic. But,
Not this.
Well, I do remember the terror of let's put on masks, let's avoid travel, let's avoid people for SARS. And then there was the MERS, which came from, camel snot, supposedly. And
how does that get anywhere?
That was my question. That was really my question. And honestly, Ebola, when I first heard about this months ago, my initial reaction upon first hearing about it and wondering how dangerous it was, in all honesty, was this. A disease which is going to liquefy somebody's organs in a really short order. How far can that actually travel? But of course, now we've learned, because there's just about nothing else to talk about, apparently, that there's a long,
even though there's tons to talk about.
Right, and it does serve as a wonderful distraction, doesn't it?
Oh, it's great. It's almost like they planned it away.
And do you trust the CDC? Really? You trust the CDC?
If you do, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, no, I mean, but they're just the people that, knew the MMR vaccine was, causing autism, 12 years ago? Whatever. Okay, the CDC are good people, and I understand, but no. Okay. But the thing is this, is there are always these pandemic scares, and I'm willing to bet that what we're looking at is nothing more than some hyped up fear porn, and it's not going to go anywhere.
And even if it does, do you trust them?
And that's the other thing, is what are you going to do if it does anyway? Take their vaccines? Well,
Well, then you're a lost cause, my friend.
Choice A, death. Choice B, death.
Choice A, fast death. Choice B, slow and painful.
Oh no, both of them are pretty painful, and
I'm sure they're both painful, but one is slow and one is quick. Pick your poison.
Yeah, but when you're in agonizing pain, Dylan, believe me, time seems to stand still. So it's really all relative. I mean,
I know that feeling. Trust me.
Right, and so do I. But the thing is, come on already. Have we not figured this one out yet? Have we not already seen this playbook? And what I'm wondering is, and like I said, on the round table with those guys, you would figure that they would be the first people to go, yeah, it's all a fake, it's all a fraud, it's all a distraction, because after all, they think a lot of stuff has been done for exactly this purpose. Love it. Even my dog is giving crap today.
Oh, good. I thought that was mine.
No, that's Willow. I'm sure that's Willow.
You're just a mess.
And this is the perfect day to have a nervous breakdown right on live radio. I just should really, go to the limit, I guess.
It seems like we'll get there by the end of the second hour.
We might, because you want to talk about time standing still.
We've only been in this a half hour, and
are we 30 minutes deep?
We're actually 20 minutes deep.
Oh, even better. Man.
Sorry to ruin your day.
No problem. Listen, you know what I'm curious about, though, is okay, now you've heard my viewpoint, and you realize that I figure that it's all an overhyped thing. It's yet another one of these wonderful mainstream mechanisms of control that the alternative media has once again been duped by. It is another one of those wonderful Mockingbird-type shell games where we are not going to be told the truth anyway. And, it's even questionable as to whether there were people who died in Africa. You know what? How do you know? Where are your sources, actually?
Hey, Chuck, you made a point that I want to just touch on briefly, if you don't mind.
No, you know what I actually want, before you touch on that point, is forget about my rantings and ravings about this. And by the way, for my audience who really needs their fear porn fix, Ebola in America.
See, guys, I told you he wasn't done.
See, well, again, you know me too well. But I would like to know, before you got to hear my rantings and ravings, okay, because you may agree with me, you may not, but before you heard that, what was your first take on this?
Pretty much the same thing, and I said it on 3 different roundtables. And everyone agreed with me, so I have better luck than you.
Well, big surprise. But the funny thing to me was, I'm on there with 6 guys who I know are the types of guys who go, I'm going to call BS on this, and I know that this was faked, and I know that was faked, and they just kind of said, oh, and moved right on to how dangerous Ebola is, how it's a terrible thing that happens, how it's, probably a bioweapon. And I'm like, yeah, it probably is. But don't you think that the timing of this is rather curious, especially considering that there is a realistic problem that's going on health-wise? I mean, what, did everybody forget about those kids?
Well, Chuck, on the note of your point, wow, I have 2 points I want to make now. Which one do I start with? Oh, the first one.
Dylan, we have plenty of time, so don't make 2. You can make 10. Go ahead.
Well, the first one, you said this is another thing the alternative has been duped on. I wonder if they're in. I sometimes wonder if they're in on it. I really do. It just seems so bizarre that people who will call everything out, like you said, go hook, line, and sinker with this one.
Yeah, I mean, but there was no resistance on this one that I've seen. You're saying that you've said it. I've literally now heard 3 people that say it. Well, no. Correct myself one more time. 4 people, one of them off the air, that are alternative media people in one form or another. That have actually said this very same thing. Now, maybe it's because I don't have time to listen to everybody, and I don't really listen to a lot of shows.
Neither do I. Don't really listen to very many either.
You know, and I give credit where credit is due. You know, who I heard say this, you know, very much like I was thinking it. You know, Jack Blood, yourself, Allison Bricker, and me. That's it. I haven't heard anybody else say this. Now, maybe I'm crazy, and maybe most of the well, no, maybe I'm crazy. Of course I am, but
I was about to say, but
yeah,
you were on a roll, so I was going to wait till afterwards.
Thank you. I figured you would have corrected me. That's fine.
Sorry, it's my job. It's why you bring me on.
I do, because you know what? I need somebody to agree that it's okay for me to be a smartass, and that's what I need. I really do. I need somebody to kind of just agree that it's fine that I ramble and just, you know, run on about things, and
you need somebody to do it with.
Right. It's also enjoyable. Yeah, Allison Bricker didn't quite agree with me, but didn't dismiss what I was saying, and saw that there could be a valid point. Go look her up if you haven't seen her, and interesting broadcaster as well.
Chuck, you've got me beat. I've only seen 2 hosts. Well, 1 host actually agree with me. You. My guests agreed with me, but
which guest was that?
Actually, Ken and Buzz.
Ken and Buzz. Are we talking about Busby again, or?
Yeah, Busby and Ken, the one we did the show with who asked you all the JFK questions.
Oh, and I like that guy, by the way. I actually want to bring. I would love to have him on one of my shows just to question other people. He really comes up with some good stuff, and challenges you. Really does. So
you want somebody who challenges you?
Well,
I got one who can go a step further than Ken.
Oh no.
I'll talk to you off air about that one, but he'll question everything.
Oh, nice.
I call him the ultimate skeptic because he beats everybody in this medium.
Well, wonderful. Maybe we'll do a total skeptic show. That would be
you, me, and him.
Oh no, I'll bring somebody else on too. That's completely obnoxious, but I'll tell you who later. Okay.
All right.
But back to and by the way, just let me jump in one more time. Ebola in America. Ebola.
Jeez, that's gonna get old at the top of the hour.
You think it's getting old at the top of the hour? How do you think people feel that still have TVs and watch CNN? CIAN or CNN or whatever Ted Turner happened to spawn some years ago that has now grown out of control, just like the CIA. Well, isn't that interesting? And we're down to 5. We're down to just about down to 5, media entities in reality anyway. So those are your news organizations. Enjoy that.
Because I digressed from my point so severely.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
How duped we've been. Sometimes I really wonder if it's voluntary, if some people want to believe it.
No, I understand about the voluntary sort of, requiring a boogeyman in order so that you can be protected and everything else.
No, not by the mainstream, by the alternative themselves.
Well, see, now I want to know what you mean by
that. Well, can you be more specific? I mean a lot by that. Mainly the fact that the alternative seems to, a lot of the time, and I've seen this multiple times over the course of this past year alone, agree with the mainstream. We can look at the... let's see where we can go with this.
Well, look, the reality of that... But the reality of that, Dylan, is this. A lot of people in the alternative media still defer to the mainstream media. Even I'm guilty of checking sources through the mainstream to see if, there's something else to it. And a lot of people won't even begin to cover stuff unless they get some sort of confirmation from the mainstream. It doesn't necessarily mean they get confirmation on all the facts, but they sometimes don't even believe that an event occurred unless it was reported in the mainstream in some way, shape, or form. Now, they're fully willing to believe that the mainstream got it wrong or are deceiving us about the event, but if they don't see the event in the mainstream somewhere, they often don't report it or don't follow up on it because they simply believe it's a hoax. And part of that is legitimate because there's been so many people over the years that have caused certain things to travel around, as a joke, as just disinformation artists that they are, just because they enjoy it, I guess, as the shills that they are, sometimes paid, sometimes unpaid, of course, but, that's the way it goes. So there is always this sort of deferring, like as if the mainstream is somehow a whole lot more legitimate than the rest of us. They're better financed. They have greater staffs behind their singular shows. They have resources that we don't necessarily have. The internet, in a way, has sort of leveled the playing field, regarding this. But then again, we also are in a contaminated stream because so many people out there have so much wrong or have made so many sort of leap of faith judgments regarding evidence, regarding actual events or individuals who are being spotlighted, that they do still defer to the mainstream for some sort of confirmation. And some of them flat out just take the mainstream stories and sort of twist them a little bit and stick them out there too. You know what I mean? So all these things are occurring at once, and I think there's a lot of people that don't have the ability to sort it out.
Well, and I think that's the problem, is that we say that we are awake, if you will. And maybe we are, but if we still try to confirm us being awake by using the sources of those who are putting people to sleep, then are we any better?
See, that's the thing. It's whether you're going to compare or contrast. If you see the contrast, between like them and us, and you use the mainstream sources to do that, that's one thing. But when you're still appealing to that, and I'm not even saying that, look, if you turn on the TV news and they say it's raining outside and, it may actually be raining. It's a possibility. They do actually report things.
Agreed. But they're not going to report everything.
But that's the key, is that, to get to what's really behind the story, to get to the realism behind the headlines, you have to dig deeper. Sometimes you can look at an article, in fact, and read the headline and then go down through the article and realize that the information in the article totally contradicts the headline, right? Mm-hmm. And this has been a standard thing for a long time because they learned a long time ago that most people are so lazy that, they'll read the title of the book and feel as though they know what the book's about. They read the headline and they go, oh, I know what happened.
By the way, since I was last on, I've read Brave New World.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Now we have something to discuss. Because I told you that when you read 1984, that, in my mind, is only half the story. You needed Brave New World. And if you could sit there and sort of assemble them together, do you see what I mean now?
Wow. That book was intense.
See, I'm not entirely out of my mind. Well, maybe I'm out of my mind, but I'm not entirely out of everyone's mind. But it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, and even the thing that I always latch on to about Brave New World is that they actually had a drug in the book called Soma, which does exist now. Except that, and the funny thing is, it sort of does. It gives that, that euphoric state and everything else. And it is, it's not one of the premier pharmaceuticals. But isn't it funny that they turned around and, the pharmaceutical industry and one of those wonderful little Snickers, just like we actually have a Skynet at this point,
That's awesome. Can I go visit it?
I doubt it.
I know, but it's still an interesting dream.
Yeah, no, I got you, and just like they would never let us anywhere near, Lord Barry, even though they will allow, the guy with the PTSD and the knife in his pocket to get into the White House, which I think is yet another one of those solid distractions.
Yeah. Well, I honestly thought that was going to be covered more.
Yeah, but see, I think that the mission was accomplished because, behind the scenes, and we don't all know.
You should get the Bush sound clip of Mission Accomplished.
Maybe, but see, to me, that was like the proverbial shot fired over the bow of the ship. I think that was a warning to Barry to tell him, listen, whatever you do, don't get too big for your britches because you're not really in control. And don't forget that the Secret Service can be lackadaisical in their job. I mean, it has been long enough.
JFK.
Right. It's been long enough since 1963 that we could probably have another oopsie. So, just be aware and let's offer up the sacrificial lamb. The lady who's the head of the Secret Service who had virtually nothing to do with that detail and everything else. But let's just can her because, again, we do need a sacrificial lamb. And go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you do. You need the sacrificial pawn in the game.
Well, right.
Or the game is pointless.
And besides, if you don't get the pawns out of the way, I mean, there's nowhere for the queens to go. Yeah. So, I forgot. Ebola. Okay.
Okay. Are we done with that, or are you going to do that every 15 minutes?
I'm not watching.
I actually think we're down to every 5 now.
Nice. Well, I got to give them what they want. Sometimes,
You give them what they don't want. You gave them JFK so many times. Now you start to give them what they want.
Well, that's right. I've turned over a new leaf. You don't know it yet, Dylan, but, I'm about to join the Republican Party, and I'm going to get a TV and exclusively tune it to Fox News, and I'm going to absolutely, get myself a good syringe full of, drain cleaner of one type or another. I guess liquid Drano would work well, and make sure that I kill off any brain cells that might have survived after I do that. So, so after I do that, Dylan, you'll want to give me a call if I can answer the phone. Just to see how I'm doing, and find out if the people taking care of me are making sure I don't drool on myself so much that I cause a rash on my neck. But,
Man, you're tearing everything apart today.
Well, I'm sorry. You know what? It gets aggravating.
No, I like it. I like seeing you do this. This is fun.
Well, see, but this is what happens when my plans go to crap in a second, So,
yeah, literally in a second. You called me up a minute before the show.
Right.
I was about to leave.
Well, sorry to bother you, but
no,
like,
you're
hey,
good.
Are you busy?
You're good. I'm happy you called me up. It's been a while since I came on.
Well, that's true, and you'll be on again Tuesday too,
and Thursday, if nothing happens.
No, Thursday I've got planned out actually.
Oh,
and
good.
You know what? I should actually let everybody know what it is I'm going to be doing this week too, and before I forget about all that kind of good stuff, because I do forget to promote my own stuff.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So tomorrow night I'll actually not be on this network. I'll be on another network, NWO Truth Mass Media radio network, and the deal over there is Daniel Lewis Crumpton will be on with me. He's been on this show a few times, and
I've had Crumpton on twice.
Yeah, awesome guy, right?
I had an argument with his partner. That was fun.
Oh, who? Sabrina.
We had an hour-long debate.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm not looking to do that. So I'm going to do that tomorrow night. And on Tuesday, we're going to have the Liberty Beacon, Tuesday with the Liberty Beacon, like always, except there's going to be some pretty interesting announcements on that show.
Ooh, can you drag me in for the first hour so that I can listen in? The website has been fighting with me.
Like I tell everybody, do you have a TuneIn app or iTunes on your computer or anything like that?
I have iTunes, I just don't know how to use it.
Well, if you go to your music and you click on radio, and then you go to talk radio, talk/news radio, and open it up. If you look down there, UCY has a stream right through there.
The other problem might be that I don't have an account and it won't let me make one.
Oh yeah, but you don't even need an account to use the iTunes radio.
So. Awesome. Well, if nothing else, would it be cool if I came in?
Well, you're going to be on the second hour. We'll work that out as we go. But Tuesday, that'll be that. On Thursday, I'm actually going to have a little roundtable with the people from ZenInTheCar.com, and those two shows will be on this network. And next Saturday, I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, cool. We'll keep that at that.
Well, Chuck, if you've got nothing going on next Saturday, I'll join in.
Well, I appreciate that, Dylan, because after all, I do drop in on your shows too. So
yeah, you drop in on mine just as much as I drop in on yours.
That's it. And, the reason why, of course, not only do I like Dylan, but I also like the fact that he's a younger guy. Because for those of you who don't know, Dylan is only a teenager and is out there doing the same kind of stuff that we do. And it is much appreciated and gives me a lot of hope for his age group, let's just say, because, I am rather worried about the kids coming up, to be honest with you.
Chuck, if you've seen what I've seen in this generation, you would be even more worried. It's worse it's worse in a lot of ways than you'd believe.
See, worse but better in some ways, because there has been an evolution of thought regarding certain things. I mean, they put aside a lot of the divisive issues that were present in my generation and the generation that followed mine. Of course, I'm like a Generation X guy, and there was, the little Generation Y and all that good stuff later on.
The funny thing is, my generation is both apathetic and the least apathetic. They're both. They're so apathetic most of the time, but I think there's a larger group in this generation that aren't apathetic.
Mm.
Than in previous generations. I can't speak for that. I think that's more something you'd be able to speak on better, Chuck. But how apathetic were people in your generation?
There was a deep apathy and kind of a strange thing because, the earlier, older parts of, say, my generational slide there, were dealing with the returns of, like, the Vietnam vets. A lot of our fathers were Vietnam vets, our uncles, et cetera, grandfathers even. And, so we were dealing with that residual sort of effect. And to be honest with you, in this country, there was sort of the what they called like the Vietnam guilt syndrome, which, related to the fact that people were kind of cruel to the returning vets, et cetera, et cetera. They weren't given the respect, that, say, the World War II vets were given. They weren't given a lot of things. And, of course, as warfare evolves, there was a greater amount of damage to these guys. A lot of them, even though a lot of World War II vets and Korean vets and everything else were, full-blown alcoholics, that was a whole lot more acceptable than, the heroin habits and the dope smoking habits that a lot of the Vietnam guys came back with. So there was, an additional onus on them. And, of course, we were sort of the children of that. At the same time, when we were coming of age, there really wasn't a war. I mean, there was Grenada and nonsense.
The war on drugs.
And well, the war on drugs was started. Yeah, exactly. It was started, it was a Nixon thing, and of course, Nixon was president when I was born. So, yeah, it all makes sense. Of course, that was the guy who also removed us from the gold standard in 1971, I believe. But at the last remnants of our backing by gold and our money and, the final death blow to all that. But
And the final blessing to the Federal Reserve.
Well, yeah, and just coincidentally, the CIA sort of colluded in order to get rid of him with a scandal instead of putting a bullet in his head. I always say that as well. Not as though I'm a great Nixon fan or anything else, or so thrilled with the idea of triangular diplomacy. And of course, this is where people like Henry Kissinger came to the forefront.
I have a question to pose to you. Who's more evil, Henry Kissinger or George H.W. Bush?
That's a pretty good question. I think the more obvious answer would be H.W., but not to my mind, because Kissinger was never like the mainline puppet. He was always like the guy in the background,
Yeah, but he's become the mainline puppet in recent years.
Oh, well, did you see the title of his latest book?
World Order.
World Order. I mean...
I read it.
You read it?
Yes.
Oh, no. Okay.
I had to.
Okay. Now we have another book to ask you about. Okay, so you wanted to ask me a question. Let me flip it back around to you. What is in that thing? Because I will not put a penny in the man's pocket. I will not put a penny in the publisher's pocket.
Neither did I. I rented it. I rented it off my library. I didn't, for free. I didn't put a single penny in his pocket.
All right. Well, I guess that's good, but woof. Okay, so being one of the few people that I actually know that read that book, tell us what is your impression? What's in there?
It's one of those things you really have to read it for yourself. It's like 1984 and Brave New World. It's an experience, man.
I don't like that answer, Dylan. I really don't.
I'm sorry. It's the best one I can give.
I mean, but realistically, what is he doing in there? I mean, explaining how the world should work, explaining how the world is going to work. I mean, are we talking about predictive programming? I mean, what?
He's explaining how he wants it to work.
Oh, so we get Hank's vision of the world, do we?
Yeah. It's a dark and scary place.
Oh, wow. And he just...
You thought 1984 was freaky? That's World Order Light.
And, I just always and will always and forever... And I do like Bela Lugosi, so I'm going to apologize to his late self when I say this. But, Kissinger always kind of reminded me of the Bela Lugosi type character.
Well,
I do have my phone lines now, by the way.
I actually had he's much more subtle about it than 1984.
Oh.
Much more subtle, which I guess works to his benefit.
Well, because his vision is not a work of fiction.
Yes. No, his vision, it's a scary, scary place.
See, now you're almost tempting me to have to read this thing. I mean, I just
read it. Read it. I recommend it. I'm sorry.
You know what you're going to start with me with doing that is now I'm going to have to go and look at. You know what you're starting, because he's going to reference things, and I'm going to have to research them and try and contact the people he's talking about and look at the statistics for myself. And you know what you're starting.
Yes, I'm getting you to do more research. It's really a good thing.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry, I have to, though. It's a great read.
Wait a minute. Now you're telling me that Hank's book is a great read?
It's great if you want to know what they're trying to do.
Dylan, before I hang up on you, tell me something. Are you endorsing Kissinger's book?
Not at all.
I mean, but it's a great read, though. I mean, you sound pretty friendly to it there, Dylan. What's?
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Bad choice. Bad choice of words.
That sounds like an applauding kind of an approval thing that would happen. I mean, 5 stars on Amazon and all this kind of good stuff because it's a great read. What are you doing?
Bad choice of words, I guess.
All right.
Hey, it really is interesting if you want to know how bad this gets, how deep this goes.
Wow.
That's all I meant by that.
Wow, and
it's great for truthers to understand how deep this really goes.
Oh, just like when I had to read Win Scott's book, which has never actually been published and has only been circulated by select few people. The book was called Foul Foe, and if you ever get a copy of that, you can find out what the CIA station chief was thinking about in Mexico City in the 60s, and you can take a look at, who E. Howard Hunt's boss was, et cetera, et cetera. So,
gonna have to read that.
Yeah, if you can get a hold of that book, go ahead.
Do you give it a recommendation or no?
I give it a recommendation, but with a caution because all of those books, and a lot of people don't realize this, but when it comes to the CIA, if you're a former agent, or how former can a CIA agent actually be? But
probably not very.
Not very is right. And if you're going to come out with a book that has anything to do with anything, it has to actually be vetted through the CIA. That's one of their internal sort of rules, as it were. And so this is why Win Scott's book has never been made public because, well, honestly, he says some very interesting things in there about Oswald. So, hello.
Here's a description of the book from the New York Times. If you want me to read it.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about Kissinger's book?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I will let you read from the New York Times description of this book, and I bet you anything it's a bestseller because,
it is.
Hank would not have bought 10,000 of his own. But did I just say that? It could, yeah, that's how that's done usually, actually. What happens is they either stuff it down the throats of the distributors, or they have pre-orders, et cetera, and there's usually like this one very large bulk purchase of books that nobody can ever explain in publishing, which is awfully funny. Not from people that write legitimate stuff or anything, but from the propped up the Bill O'Reillys of the world, et cetera. There's always this one very large, huge, massive purchase, and
especially O'Reilly.
Especially if you're an apologist for the elites, or you're somebody who absolutely adheres to an official story, which is absolute bull. But anyway,
like Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Go ahead and read us this description of this book that you think is a great read.
You're never gonna let that go, are you,
Dylan?
You don't let anything go. I know that.
But that would. Now you're telling too much about me. So. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
I think your listeners know that already.
Sicilians do not forget. All right, go ahead.
I don't think it's a great read, but it's a scary read for sure.
Okay. Anyway, so the New York Times description, you got it?
Yes. Henry Kissinger's new book, World Order, puts the problems of today's world and America's role in that increasingly interconnected and increasingly riven world into useful and often illuminating context. Oof. It examines the alliances and divisions that have defined Europe over the centuries, the fallout from the disintegration of nations like Syria and Iraq, and China's developing relationship with the rest of Asia and the West.
Now here's an odd observation just from listening to that. Did Syria disintegrate at the time of the printing of this book?
I don't think so. Maybe it came out too early?
Maybe, or maybe just people won't pay attention to that, and they'll look back at it later and say, "Yeah, Syria is now balkanized just like everything else." And okay,
Here's what the Financial Times says, which is more scary. Kissinger's conclusion deserves to be read and understood by all candidates ahead of the 2016 election. World order depends on it. Oh, man.
World order. Wait a minute. Dylan, you're reading that
serious.
right? World order depends on it?
Yes, I'm reading that straight from the Financial Times review of Henry Kissinger's new book.
I'm speechless.
Man, I didn't even see that when I started reading.
Wow.
You might have to read it.
You're doing everything you can to make me have to read this book now, right?
I'm gonna bother you until you read it.
Thanks. Appreciate that, by the way. Really.
I'm trying to help you, man.
No. See, I tell you, you got to read Brave New World. You tell me I got to read, Satan's Left-Hand Man's documentary book about his ideas. Thanks, I appreciate that. Really, again, back to the Bela Lugosi kind of, I have come to bring you a new world order. Come on.
Sorry, I had you brought it up.
I did. I did.
This is your fault.
Well, right, because I am a glutton for punishment. Of course. Of course. Oh, my God. See, and this is bad. This is so bad.
What is?
Oh, because I'm dumbfounded at the support, but I guess I shouldn't be all that surprised. I think it was, let's see, where did we see him recently? Oh, it was a mainstream clip that came by, and I think it was a Comedy Central thing, which is now another thing that I'm somehow blocked from seeing again.
Do you want the link to this?
Yeah, okay, give it to me, because why not? I'll start there.
To the reviews on Amazon.com. I'll send that to you right now.
All right. I'll start there.
You're a glutton for punishment.
I'll start there.
And you're not going to be happy about it.
No, of course not.
I was not happy about reading it. I really wasn't. But
Ebola. Okay.
I think we're giving enough fear porn here.
No. Because see, this is complexity. Okay, this is something that it would require some thought to understand. The particular agendas of these individuals. That requires a little bit of thought. That requires a little bit of discernment. That requires. Yeah, go ahead.
If you need any more proof, the national interest. Kissinger's vision could help to shape a more tranquil era than one that has emerged so far.
Nice. Well, it is awfully tranquil if they do bring us down to that 500,000, 500 million population. Yeah, 500 million, exactly. The 500 million that is the target. If they actually achieve that, well, after all, that would make for a much more tranquil world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, all the killing and...
Well, no, afterwards, in the aftermath, with everybody who has, 3 brain cells to rub together, is gone. Tranquility might ensue. Especially if most of the planet is not populated, except by hardworking slaves that don't really live that long and everything else. I mean, it's all good. It's all. Yeah, it works out. It's awfully peaceful if there's no people. Yeah, sure.
Oh man, this is gonna. Chuck, we are doing a book review on this after you're done reading it.
All right. We'll do an old school book review. We will do that.
I'm sorry. I feel obligated to at this point.
All right. Well, on one of these shows, we'll break down Kissinger's book for you, I guess.
The things we do for audiences.
Well, yeah, please. You know what? And I've never asked for a donation on the air, but I'm telling you, by the time I'm done with that book, I mean, the only thing that might be more exhausting is that 1,600-page monstrosity that Bugliosi put out. How many pages is that book that Hank put out there?
Let's see here. It's the bestseller on Amazon, by the way. Of course.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Let's see here. It's not on Amazon. Let's see. Let's look it up.
Well, you read it. I mean, do you remember about how many pages it was?
It was decently long.
Well, see, but that depends what you call decently long. I mean, I got very...
400?
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I mean, I got very accustomed to the 800-page book, so...
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can find an exact...
No problem. As long as we have a general sort of idea. I mean, it won't be a brutally long process for me to read it once I get it.
Although I also only got a portion of it with the Kindle.
You only got a portion of it?
Yeah, they only let me get some of it.
Huh.
Which was kind of irritating.
Yeah, well, that happens with Kindle. I used to have a Kindle. Don't anymore, but yeah. Now that you've thoroughly depressed me, by the way. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's my job.
Apparently it is. I don't know, man. See, again with the glutton for punishment thing. Let me bring Dylan on because I'm having a bad day. Let's make it worse. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. You never cease.
You know you enjoy these conversations.
Yeah, I kind of do actually, because it keeps me thinking, it keeps me angry, and it keeps me trying to come up with better and better ways to refuse and resist and extract myself from the matrix. So it's a necessary evil, I guess.
I guess.
Man, oh man. So
either you're a glutton for punishment, or I just depress you without realizing it. Maybe both.
Well, yeah. And I know I mentioned the Montel Williams thing at one point here and the PTSD deal. And like I said, I caught part of that and part of Montel choking up every couple of seconds and sitting there and once again talking about his MS. And, I got to say that years ago, here I go dating myself. Years ago, I went to one of those Montel Williams shows because I was always one of these idiots who wanted to see exactly how things work behind the scenes and all that. And, they herd you into so somewhere out there's a Montel Williams show where you can find a long-haired version of me sitting in the audience where they pass by really quickly.
Glutton for punishment, man.
Yeah.
Even back then you were a glutton for punishment?
Oh, of course.
God, I can't help you.
No, nobody can, Dylan. That's the fun part. So, oh man.
And I've never known anybody who had fun with this.
Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I guess. And my phone's going off. Sorry if you can hear that.
Oh, is that what that noise? I was trying to figure out. I said, oh, God, what is breaking now? Oh.
It's a good thing it was my phone, because I don't want to give you a heart attack.
Well, why not? Let's add to the suspense of the day. I'm about due for some sort of catastrophic illness. Why not? Speaking
Don't say that.
No, it's okay. I defy the gods to kill me because that would just be way, way too kind of them. So,
man, stop calling me. I can't even answer it.
Well, it's all right. I can't either. So, okay.
Good. You're beating yourself up today.
You know what it is.
What happened?
I don't know. I guess I have this need to join the party once in a while because,
The pity party?
No, but abuse from everybody else. I mean, why don't I join in on it and do it to myself as well? Why?
I guess.
Oh, boy.
You're a mess, man.
Yeah, of course I am. Let's see.
Oh, if you weren't, then you wouldn't be you, it seems.
Yeah, I know, and again, I was digressing into this Montel Williams show thing. So yeah, I remember going to see him, and staying there for tapings of a couple of shows, and watching this staged thing go on and everything else. But in between each of the shows, I'll give him this. In between each of the shows, he winds up talking about the need for medical marijuana and his
Oh.
MS and everything else. And this is why I thought he was pretty cool. I mean, so this is what it was about. I wasn't quite awake then. So, you still with me, Dylan? Well, we might have lost Dylan, which means I'll have to rant and rave all by myself if it keeps up. Oh, there you are.
Sorry, I had to drop out for a sec. I'm gonna have to drop out for another second in a couple seconds, but
No problem, Dylan. Why not? I'll rail by myself. So.
my foot's stuck to the footrest and it really hurts. So
Oh boy. All right. Well,
I'll be back 1 second.
no problem. Do what you got to do, brother. So where was I? Right, the Montel Williams thing. There's not much to it, but I just thought he was really cool just based on that. And I've never been one who. I mean, there was a time when I thought that that despite what I had done at a younger age and everything else, that there might have been some legitimacy to to the concept of keeping the chronic out of people's hands and all that kind of stuff. But that did not last long. Throughout most of my life, I mean, I've always felt as though, in a classic sort of libertarian sense, that people should be allowed to do whatever it is they choose.
To their body.
Yeah, to their own bodies. I mean, if you don't own your own body, what do you own? And if something is yours, you are basically allowed to do with it as you please. So that was my very basic premise at that time, and throughout most of my life, like I said, with the exception of a short time period where I kind of went a little bit conservative, because I was getting pretty angry at what I was seeing. And that was my rebellious action was to kind of turn conservative because I had already gone rebellious in the other direction. In a different.
Sure, that's rebellious or.
Well, no, it was rebellion against the idea that like everything is okay, no matter what you do. Morality doesn't count in any way, shape, or form. And believe me, I've been on both sides of that kind of argument at one point or another in my life because, I've had an eventful life. So, depending on your circumstance, sometimes you view the world through a different lens, let's just say.
Yeah, I've changed my viewpoint a ton of times. I actually, to my shame, did go conservative for a while.
Yeah, well, like I said.
Until I realized what was really going on. I was conservative for a very long time.
Well, see, and that's the problem. Is eventually you have to start to do that terribly, terribly difficult, ugly chore of thinking, and
it's funny because I was liberal at one point, conservative at one point, and now I understand it.
Yeah, right. See, that's the thing.
I've gone after both evils, and now I understand it.
Well, right, and sometimes it's a whole lot more beneficial to sort of have gone behind enemy lines at some points to sort of understand what's really happening. And
I've done it so many times. I'm actually kind of ashamed that I was once a
look,
conservative and a liberal.
Well, let me give you that more adult advice, that sort of condescending advice, and say to you, everybody makes mistakes, Dylan. This is how we learn. But it's true. But I
did learn.
Precisely. So, meanwhile, okay.
Where were we going with this?
I have no idea. But meanwhile, while everybody is pumping the Ebola thing,
have you guys gotten your fix yet? Because if you haven't, he's got plenty more opportunities to go after it.
Right. Because be afraid, be very, very afraid. Ebola.
We've been on for an hour already?
Ah, yes, we have.
We're doing good.
Well,
We're doing better than last time.
no, I leave that to the judgment of the listener, and hey, it is what it is.
Hey, we haven't resorted to rambling yet.
Oh, sure, I have. You just didn't notice. It's okay. It's okay.
You always ramble. I can't figure it out.
I always ramble. Dylan, tell me about myself. Go ahead, because I always ramble. I never make sense. I mean, what do you think?
No, you make sense, but you ramble on. Sorry,
Yeah.
if I don't mess with you on a daily basis, I feel empty.
Oh, well. There is a revealing quote from Mr. Wade right there. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds
Sorry,
like
you're a
glutton.
You're a glutton for punishment, and you enjoy fighting back, so it's fun.
Yeah.
I like when people defend themselves.
Well, see that's the bad thing is you never know if I'm gonna join you in the beating or fight back. So
And that's why I like it.
It's
why I enjoy messing with you once in a while.
Great, more and more. Oh boy.
Sorry.
No problem. You know what, Dylan? I love you, man. You're a great guy, and I'm happy to call you my friend. So you go right ahead and mess with me all you want. It's fine.
Likewise, Chuck.
And this is the way it goes. And hey, if I want to be a real jerk, I could bring up,
no, I know where you're going with that.
Because, ooh, all right.
I know where you're going with that. I thought you were going one way, but then I realized where you were going with that. No.
Debate. Debate. Okay.
I'm still trying to get round 2.
Well, that's okay. And I would love to host that,
I need to redeem myself.
Yeah, that would be good. That would definitely be good. I'd like to see that because, all right. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I knew where you were going with that.
No problem. I just wanted to remind you that though I ramble.
All is fair, Chuck. Anything you've got, you can throw it at me, but remember, I have the right to do the same.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? Let me give you some equal time. What is it that you saw in your news streams lately that you found of interest? Because, again, with my monitoring of mainstream stuff and all that. What I also forgot to bring up is a couple of weeks ago, I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, that somebody passed me along one of those Panic Attack Jones videos.
Ooh.
And I didn't know what it was until I checked it out.
What does the Panic Attack have to say?
Well, this was one, and I don't know what date it was from. I don't know any. I just listened to it for about 5 minutes, shook my head, and shut it off.
I'm sorry. I have to do this. I have to say this. I'm surprised he's not selling Panic Attack in a bottle.
Well, no, he's too busy selling male enhancement and poisonous. Anyway,
we'll leave it alone.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much attention to it. But the thing is that, the sound of this video, unless somebody edited this together as a joke, I don't know, because I really didn't even want to compare it. I just sort of shook my head and went, wow. Because here's the sensible thing. When we had the whole border crisis thing that was also, the end of the world in the media and all that.
A distraction.
Yet another distraction. And, of course, a logical thing occurs after that. We do have kids that are all of a sudden sick all over the country, so it's not entirely fictitious, but hey, ignore that too. But meanwhile, this video, I'm listening to this audio. It was like, I don't know what the video clip was because I was just listening to the audio of it, and it wasn't one of those typical, things with the, the big old head on the screen and all that. But, the deal was that it sounded as though they had people on the ground that pretty much there was an invasion of our country about to happen from the southern border. And I mean, not like the typical sort of discussions about immigration, but like as if a militarized force was just basically about to march on Texas. And I'm listening to this and I'm going, oh, wow, what did I miss? And I come to find out that it's an old clip and everything. So I look at the date and I go, okay, so where's this imminent attack? And there is none. So
Of course.
So I'm sure that that over there they're probably basically saying Ebola, 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 and Obama and Ebola and Ebola and Ebola. And although the left-right paradigm is all false, the right side of the left-right paradigm might be better for you than the left side. But it's all false, and et cetera, et cetera. So I found that kind of remarkable. But what have you seen lately though that really stuck out?
I saw something kind of interesting that was actually pretty sad. You remember that Secret Service break-in that you were discussing earlier?
Oh yeah, that winds up leading to that grilling from the alleged female head of the Secret Service. And I don't say alleged head of the Secret Service, I say alleged female head of the Secret Service. Okay.
Oof.
Go on.
Evidently, Fox News attacked Obama for that break-in. Of all the... look, he doesn't have a role to play in everything.
No. Look, and again, I say to anybody, if you think the puppets are in control, then please, by all means, take out your old VHSs or DVDs of Sesame Street, and please observe them, because that's about your level of information. And I think I have Tech on the line.
Oh, cool.
Are you with me, Tech?
Hear me?
Now I do.
Okay, good. How's your evening and all?
Oh man, I'm having all kinds of fun, brother. It is so good to hear from you, though, man. I have not talked to you in a while, and everybody who is not familiar with the network, this gentleman goes under the handle of Hecty, and of course I refer to him as Tech sometimes. There's more than one Hecty in the chat room now and then, but of course that is related. But but this is my friend here, and I'm always glad to talk to him. So how are you doing tonight?
Okay, earlier in the week, let's just say an eventful for the annoying police of Las Vegas earlier in the week. Spent $1 million just to get rid of a backpack off the freeway.
Wait a minute. $4 million to do what?
$1 million for use a bomb squad, highway metro, and all that. Yeah.
Nice.
I-15, if you want to look it up.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
The strangeness of Las Vegas almost competes with the strangeness of California sometimes, doesn't it?
And New Jersey, don't forget.
Yeah.
But look,
we pump gas from California, so you gotta give her so that's gonna.
Well, in New Jersey, you don't pump your own gas. It's actually illegal to do so there. I think Oregon still has that whole law in place too, right? So, New Jersey and Oregon, and New Jersey, of course, is, one of the strangest places on the planet, probably because of all the wonderful, wonderful chemical love that has been, granted upon that state. And, of course, your wonderful overhead power lines that are, constructed in such a way that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really not a surprise that New Jersey is a strange place. And I am totally allowed to say this because absolutely I was born there, and lived there more than any other place anyway. I've lived in a lot of places in this country, but I lived in New Jersey more than anywhere else. So if you want to think about how strange New Jersey is as a place on the planet, just remember that Ochelli came from there. So that's all you need to know.
And I came from there, so.
And Dylan too. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, literally with the pipeline though, because water comes up our way, gasoline goes from up there as well, from California. That's what I meant, seriously.
Yeah, well, there's something wrong out there that is just otherworldly, but in New Jersey, I do blame it on the chemicals because, because again, I mean, all you got to do is look up stuff like Ciba Geigy and look up exactly where some of those wonderful superfunds are, and by all means, take a look at those power plants out there. It's all in good fun, and of course, Atlantic City.
Yay!
Well, let's just say with my town, I know probably the two things with it. Let's just say ex-feds, all those ABCs like to retire here, and also Nuclear River. I'll leave it at that.
Oh man! So I asked Dylan what he had noticed in the news stream lately. What have you noticed in the news stream lately?
One or two things about that silly Ebola, but it's.
You know what? Let me get your take on that. Am I out of my mind? Because I don't know if you heard that part of the show. But
you mentioned it so many times.
I did, and I just keep saying this just because I figure everybody wants this, because it seems to be all over every media that is possible. So I just every once in a while break in and say, Ebola, 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 be afraid, Ebola in America.
That's that up.
Well, I got to give them a little fear porn, Hecty. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
But at the same time, look, in all seriousness, I see it as yet another like bird flu thing, yet another swine flu, yet another. It's be afraid. It's another pandemic. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to do nothing but go away when the news cycle changes over and we have a brand new weapon of mass distraction to sink our teeth into. That's all there is to it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But what do you think?
Well, I think the person down there, it could be used as a guinea pig for one of the few vaccines that's down that area.
Chuck, I think they're going to give us a vaccine, and that's going to be the end of it.
Yeah, they're trying to push the vaccine agenda and anti-vaxxer type agenda with that as usual. But
so you don't disagree with me, because basically this is what happened with the swine flu. This is what happened with the avian flu. They introduced, pushed, and even made mandatory in some places. I know for a fact you couldn't go to school unless you got your swine flu. You couldn't do this and that. You couldn't participate in certain activities, right, without your swine flu vaccine.
Yeah.
So
with actual diseases, I did see one other person with bubonic plague earlier in the week, but that's probably it. That didn't get very much news either.
Yeah, it didn't, did it? But these things, look, I just say that it's just one of these things that I don't like it when the mainstream is leading the beating drum of fear porn and the alternative media is following it. There is a whole lot of panic attacks going on out there about it. There's a whole lot of, again, and I hate to use the term over and over again, but fear porn is what it is, baby. And all that these people are doing is mentally pleasuring themselves with being afraid. That's all there is to it.
I agree.
I love that description.
I agree.
Awesome.
If you're his family, that's probably the only thing I'd worry about, but that's probably it. Oh, that portion, but yeah.
But even with that, okay, we know it was airborne in laboratories and blah, 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 but I mean, realistically, if you're to believe what what even the experts are pushing out there, it shouldn't be something that's communicable unless you're dealing with body fluids again. And it didn't come from camel snot like MERS, thankfully, because that was strange to me. I didn't get that one.
Yeah, that's actually a big fucking fib right there. That's just propaganda.
Right, but I mean, heck, come on, man. SARS, bird flu, swine flu. I mean, how many times do they have to do this before everybody catches on that... Yeah.
Well, evidently a few more times.
Here's the thing. Someone getting out of the lab that accidentally got exposed to it It's just the usual shit, but it's like, it happens now and then, and I probably do think it's mostly fear porn in itself.
Well, right, and where do you think the flesh-eating disease, and you know what, that's another one that everybody forgets. Remember the giant flesh-eating disease that was out there?
Stop it.
The one in the water. Oh, yeah, the nanites. Yeah.
All that stuff. But they had this whole thing about bacteria. Remember, if you cut yourself on a rusty piece of metal, now you don't only have to be afraid of, your usual tetanus and all that other good stuff, but also now there's these wonderful microbes, and they could be anywhere, that will literally eat the flesh off of your bones. Okay, and that was perpetrated out there in the mainstream for quite a while. And now, have you heard about flesh-eating disease lately?
The only thing flesh-eating that's been on my radar lately is the usual crocodile shit, and something new that's been kind of eating a little bit bone here and there, but that's it.
Right, and that's not to say that every disease that they feature on the mainstream is full. I mean, like this whole respiratory illness among these children all across the country is real.
Yeah,
I'm very sure.
You want me to relate something with that? Well, with a lot of these kids with their weakened immune system from food and then also radiation, what do you expect?
Well, isn't that true? And then, of course, remember all of the fear that was about all of these sick kids across the border, right? There may have been some legitimacy to that regarding them carrying this crap, among our population, so to speak. And so therefore that's kind of logical.
Yeah.
Okay? But this Ebola thing, I mean, realistically, what's happened with all these reported cases of Ebola?
It's often turned out to be the flu.
Yeah.
Okay. With the Ebola all over the world, a few cases are actually being suppressed, and then some are being inflated. I'll be honest with that portion.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, where you're going to test your bioweapon, you really don't want to reveal the site of it, do you? So therefore...
Yeah, no. It's like how, a priest is being traded with nano silver in Italy and all.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that, again, I'm not saying that Ebola doesn't exist and, the Ebola virus is a crisis actor. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the idea that this is going to somehow become this, point of contagion, and we're going to wind up following through with the CDC of all people because they're so trustworthy.
Oh, no. They're the ones that are blocking these nanites over for a lot of people, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, and of course, recent revelations, of course, we find out that they were well aware of the autism link to the vaccines and all that other good stuff because they did the studies. So they
Yeah, and then your rabies version of the one study. Oh, boy.
Yeah, so...
The rabies version of the Ebola virus that came out a few months ago.
No, the vaccine that uses rabies.
Right, so they have a patent, and of course, this slipped by everybody too. Well, we figured out a way to genetically engineer this so that we can give you some of the proteins from the Ebola virus, and and this is what we're working on. Wonderful.
I never even heard about that one.
Oh yeah, but this is the new trend, you see, along with your thimerosal and your squalene and whatever else, embalming.
Yeah, I know.
Idea.
I know the rabies one was just like genetically altered. Well, not actually genetically altered. It's where rabies and you just put a genetically altered version of Ebola together, and then you make that virus for our vaccine.
Yeah, we'll talk about two birds with one stone, right?
Yeah. There's that, and then there's the RNA. Jules has talked about that one pretty well.
Oh yeah, the right, exactly, and this is basically like a genetically extracted protein, from the organism, that's not going to have any long-term bad effects or anything, right?
It'll just make your mind wipe very easier.
Well, isn't that the point at the end of the day? Is that, look, the more of us they vaccinate, the more of us are brain damaged, the more of us will, obey and refuse to question and just simply put our heads down and work ourselves to death like good little slaves when we're allowed to work, of course.
I remember I've heard something funnier earlier in the week. What's your point from this one? But what was this deal with this Ebola zombie crap I've heard about?
Oh, well, look, man. Look.
It was sort of funny, but yeah, it's like, what the hell is that?
Well, if you notice, there's always this, ever since the zombie genre of fiction has become, prolific, there's always these little sort of fringe stories that come out regarding, designer drugs or bath salts or particular diseases. And, and gee, if you smoke the wrong kind of reefer, you're going to wind up a zombie and, and everything else. There's always this little zombie kind of like trailer to all these stories. So I have no doubt that there is a part of the narrative here where they're going to introduce the Walking Dead scenario for everybody. And
that'll be fun.
Oh, I heard of.
I actually follow the show. I'm guilty of following the show.
Well, okay, and you know what? I'm guilty of having watched a bunch of episodes because I wanted to understand the world around me. Because as far as I'm concerned, we're already in the land of the Walking Dead. It's just that a lot of them don't actually know it yet. So,
well, the show actually features an entire episode on Ebola.
I wasn't aware of that. There's an episode on Ebola?
Yeah, and how it caused the virus. It took place in the CDC.
I did see part of that where they were in the CDC, and I thought that was... I saw the tail end of that, so it's pretty interesting that they get locked in there. And, of course, at the end, they destroy everything because, you got to wipe the building at the end and all that kind of good stuff. And I said to myself, well, that seems pretty realistic to me. But, I didn't realize that they were saying it started with Ebola. That's pretty interesting.
It started with Ebola. It started with Ebola mixed with rabies.
Yeah, there's also another movie that kind of used that. I've heard this.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
Not exactly Dawn of the Dead. World War Z or something like that.
The new version of Dawn of the Dead? Because I'll tell you something. Dawn of the Dead was an old movie. I don't know if it's still in.
You're never going to let that go, are you?
Well, it's a very old movie. You want me to date myself more? Here, I'll give it to you on a silver platter. I saw Dawn of the Dead on a drive-in movie screen. Okay, so you deal with that.
You're doing this to yourself now.
Of course I am. It's fun. Okay, but I did. I saw Dawn of the Dead. I want to say that it was played at the same time as John Carpenter's The Thing. I want to say
that was good.
Yeah, it may or may not have been a double feature that day, but I know I saw Dawn of the Dead. I distinctly remember, and I was very young at the time, but I distinctly remember the whole thing in the mall and cracking up at it because as a kid I had a sick, twisted sense of humor. What a shock.
Oh, God.
You still do.
Yes, I do. I do try and control it on the air, though. I try and keep it just among my friends privately, but my tendencies do tend to slip out, don't they? But heck, you do see that this is always like part of the scenario, right? And I wasn't really aware that there was sort of a predictive programming element to it because obviously that CDC episode of The Walking Dead was out, sometime before this whole current.
It was out 2 months ago.
No, the CDC episode was a while ago.
No, they must have had a new one then.
Maybe they had a new one where they called back to it, but I'm very sure that I saw this at the very least last year.
Oh.
Last year, and I saw it.
I sworn I saw it about 3 or 4 months ago.
Well, you might have, but what I'm saying is that it aired way before that because it must have been like season 1 or season 2, and we're now entering either the 4th or 5th season, I think. I'm not keeping track of it well, but I did tune to it on Netflix a few times.
It's a decent show.
Yeah, no, it's actually pretty well written. I kind of like it, but
you should watch it. It's getting interesting.
Yeah, I hear that, and I'm definitely considering it. But
you're already reading Kissinger's new book, so.
I know. Well, what more do you want to do to my brain, Dylan? I mean, look.
Dylan, please, come on. Give him a break, please.
Let me go back to the National Archives and dig through those pink slips some more. I mean, because God help me. Kissinger's book. Okay, fine. You got me to agree to read that, but how much more stuff do you want to cram into my already enfeebled mind? I mean, really?
Jeez.
But Hecty, I mean, predictive programming regarding this whole zombie thing. I mean, you know what I'm talking about with the bath salts and all this other stuff a few years ago, right?
Well, the bath salts in it, yeah, I do get what you mean. But there's actually some types of fungus that actually, Jeffers had some fun experimenting with that. They've actually had a few accidents, too, over the years, but they're...
Well, little-known facts here. Little-known facts. Quite honestly, when people talk about MK Ultra, MK Delta, MK Search, Project Artichoke, and all that stuff.
What are Delta and Search? Of Ultra.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean with those, but there was also the reanimation projects as well alongside that. But
right, that stuff went right in line with it. And even though Dick Helms, proclaimed to the Rockefeller Commission, I think it was in '72, that he had already terminated MK Search as it was then known, all that kind of good stuff. And if you don't know who Dick Helms is, please look him up. Former head of the CIA, wonderful human being, by the way.
Yeah, remember when the first day shitheads that was known to the public came up with the original saying of world cyber warfare and all that?
You got it. And this is the guy who presided over a whole lot of those wonderful, Mockingbird, COINTELPRO kind of operations. And, yeah.
Yeah, okay. If thinking of our current CIA head, to where, let's just say if you look into something with the Danziger trial and all, yeah, you'll probably find some interesting stuff, what he's done and what he, that's fun silencing.
Well, look, you never get to be the
top dog for being clean, yeah, no.
Right. That's the way that works. I mean, that's like the bone at the end of the string there for those guys. They get to move up, they get to be in charge of sections as opposed to having to actually get their nails dirty anymore. So anybody who ascends to that level is usually, I mean, unless you're George H.W. Bush, who absolutely claimed that he had, no part of the CIA up until he was, appointed the head of it temporarily by Gerald Ford.
No, because let's just say his boss for Bushy Boy's family, let's just say the person that had the original cyber warfare was his boss in the 50s and 40s.
Well, right, and let us never forget about Prescott Bush and all his wonderful adventures. But George H.W., who was even noted by somebody as nefarious as J. Edgar Hoover, is actually representing the CIA, meeting with him about anti-Castro Cubans, prior to the declaration. Like I said, I think it was in '76 or so. He was or '75. He was actually appointed to be the head of the CIA, while claiming that he had absolutely no connection to it previous. And when that document came out with J. Edgar Hoover's signature on it, regarding those anti-Castro Cuban elements in our country that Mr. George Bush of the CIA was reporting on, regarding all that stuff, he just said, well, no, that must have just been another guy named George Bush.
Yes. Oh, God.
Yeah. Good luck with that one.
Oh, boy. But speaking with, all Ebola again, just for 1 second. You know that doctor that I mentioned before? Looks like he's finally getting heard. And some of the newspapers are talking about it down there. Cool. In South Africa, I know. Or
Well, South Africa is definitely an interesting place. always has been and is a point of interest, which is why I find it funny now looking back at that one Lethal Weapon film where they have all this intrigue over Cougarans and all this other nonsense, regarding South Africa. And of course, we all remember the fact that it was the apartheid state and all that kind of stuff. And Desmond Tutu is one of those guys, one of those historical figures that I've actually met in my life. Definitely a fascinating character as well.
You've actually met Tutu?
Yeah. He was actually on a tour, like speaking engagements, and wound up addressing one of these. I've got so many stories you wouldn't believe it, but I was part of one of those mock United Nation kind of things, like young people go and represent different countries as a sort of symbolic United Nations.
Oh yeah, to send kids and teenagers over to help out with certain things. But yeah, I hear you.
Right, and it wasn't sponsored by the UN or anything. It was actually sponsored by a political awareness club of sorts that I got to tell you was rather odd and was only for certain individuals and so on and so forth. So that was like one of our treats, was to meet the Bishop Desmond Tutu. So yeah. But anyway. South Africa is one of those places, though, that is often ignored, but is really, really in need of a great deal more study by those who want to understand the nexus of evil in different parts of the globe, as it were.
If you actually want to know some interesting stuff that links with Africa, look in Ecuador down there. That would have some interesting nexus with that.
Well, what in Ecuador would you say would be a good place to start with linking to South Africa? Because I know about when there were trade embargoes and everything else, there were only very few places that would deal with South Africa, and for very specific, interesting reasons, on and on.
Yeah. I'd say probably either the main city or one of the sub-cities that were along the coast. I'd say look around there, maybe. You might find some things here and there. I would be careful of certain skeletons, though, but I've had some family that lived down there for quite a while.
Yeah, and here's your New Jersey connection to the weirdness when we're talking about history. I do remember and recall very, very well Stephen Van Zandt participating in the Sun City thing, which was all about not wanting to go to South Africa and play Sun City. And there's even if you look back far enough, you'll find a song about it. You'll find a fundraising thing about it. The anti-apartheid movement. And the people that were involved in producing a teleplay about the Stephen Biko trial, the inquest about Stephen Biko, who was a political prisoner who was killed. That's right. There was more than just, our good friend over there who wound up becoming the president, who was also a political prisoner over there in South Africa. But a guy named Stephen Biko was the first guy I heard about long before Mandela. So,
There are some others with Mandela I've heard about too. Some are interesting characters, but yet they've had some interesting time with them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, human rights abuses were pretty interesting. But, of course, we no longer have that sort of moral high ground to discuss that kind of stuff anymore because...
after we gave Mandela and all that, yeah.
Well, yeah, and besides that, while we're sitting there and arming the enemies of our enemies and the enemies of our enemies' enemies and our friends' enemies and switching sides and everything else while we balkanize various countries.
I know the nuclear missiles down there were kind of problematic as well, but they had to get rid of them over time.
Yeah, well, of course, because after all, only certain people are allowed to have those.
Yeah, I know. It's like how Japan's been trying to pawn off their nuclear missiles to India and also other countries as well, like Thailand, too, with all these nuclear deals.
I didn't hear about that one. I got to be honest with you.
Well, okay. I know India themselves is not fully part of the nuclear proliferation treaty itself and all, but it's like they have a lot of nuclear and all that. And I remember when a nuclear submarine went boom in the harbor. It's like, oh boy, got trouble in laws there. Wonder who caused that.
Wow.
I think the British.
Did you hear anything about that, Dylan?
No, this was probably about earlier in the year. I've heard about that.
No, I was wondering if Dylan heard anything about that.
No, I actually haven't.
Yeah, see, I hadn't caught that one either. You always get me with something I haven't seen, Hecty, that's for sure.
I know, it's like how, I know with nuclear, I've been keeping an eye on a certain plant that's a little bit south of Chicago.
Something interesting just showed up in my news feed.
Oh, what do you got?
Iraq accidentally dropped food on ISIS rather than the bombs.
Oh, yeah, that was another good one. We accidentally supplied the wrong side over there. It was totally by accident. We're looking into that. Yeah. That was
markets worth of food, yeah.
Yeah, that was earlier in the week, and pretty interesting. Oops, we gave it to the bad guys.
Yeah, probably about 4 times, and you probably sent a few more trucks out there to them as well. Yeah, and thank you.
And let's keep in mind, folks, that's what they got caught dropping to the bad guys. And I'm holding up the air quotes again. This is what they accidentally, okay, air quotes, dropped to the bad guys, air quotes again.
So,
yeah.
Did you guys hear about the story 2 days after we started bombing ISIS, in Syria at least? There was a story about how we killed a terrorist cell called Khorasan.
Oh, Khorasan, okay.
Did you guys hear about that story?
Well, what I was told from people in the region is that
Khorasan doesn't exist? Because that's what the mainstream now admits. CNN quoted a White House official saying that we don't know where they are or who they are.
Okay,
but we killed them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where Crumpus is either. But I'm sure we got him. We got him, so Santa Claus is safe. Okay, just so everybody knows, that just came across my news feed. Crumpus has been bombed in Syria, and Santa Claus is now safe. Thank you. And by the way, in case you missed it, Ebola.
Okay. That whole Khorasan shit, they started it within, a news anchor kind of made a big goof and all, trying to say ISIS and all that, and she ended up saying Khorasan for northern Iran. Russia sent troops up that way, and you wonder what was going on there for a week or two ago.
Well, right. And the only really valid point about this Ebola thing is that at the very least, there is now a again, air quotes, valid excuse for sending troops into the African continent, right?
No, there isn't.
Well, sure there is. They're there to combat and confront Ebola.
What are they going to do? Are they going to shoot it?
Well, that was my question right away.
Actually, they're trying to shoot down all those anti-Ebolas. Unless
Obama's going to order them to kill the carriers of Ebola, which would piss everybody off.
You probably seen the little comment that one of our ambassadors out there said, "Oh God, that character, ridiculous," and he was so plain about it too. We're not destabilizing governments. Give me a break, you shithead. I know you're destabilizing the area. It's like how it's about the same thing as just occupy China in some aspects. If you know who the funders are.
Oh yeah, that wonderful revolution in Hong Kong. Don't pay any attention to that. But
actually, that's nothing. I talked to somebody who lived in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's not right.
He says that goes on 8 times a year at least.
Oh. Yeah, that is true.
But Dylan, it's a major story right now because after all, the CNN crew got tear gassed.
Oh, poor them. They're okay. Do they need a Band-Aid?
No, they probably need a hug, though. It just kills me. It just kills me. And these are the things that are trending among the rest of the population. And in case you missed it, Ebola is in America.
Well, what else is trending? The evident overthrow of Kim Jong-un.
One thing with Libya. France is preparing troops to bomb the crap out of Libya again. And
yay!
What
did they do now?
The tribes are taking back their country again, and the militias are kind of forming together. So that's kind of the usual MO with this one.
How dare you try to take back your country from the United States and the Western?
Well,
how dare you go? How dare you try to get democracy? Don't you know that right's only reserved us?
Some crazy hawk has been sending out some experiments lately, and I think Barry has been having fun meeting some of them. Oh God.
Well, and you know what? The first thing that turns up suspect to me regarding that whole thing with the French, it is the French, because
whenever they're involved, it's a bad thing.
It really is, because nothing good ever really comes out of it, and there's always.
I know sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depends on where it actually is heading towards and what it's actually used for. But I do.
And to anybody who maybe have accidentally stumbled onto my show, yes, I do have an irrational hatred for the French. So
why? I really want to figure that out. I have a similar dislike towards the French, but I still want to figure out why yours is irrational.
Perhaps someday I will, but because I know for a fact that I'm judging an entire group of people for the wrong reasons, but for some reason I absolutely can't resist it.
They're the French.
They're the French.
They're so easy.
Perhaps you and I understand each other better than I thought, Dylan. I don't know. But go
oh man, that's scary for both of us.
You were going to say something, Hector? Good.
Yeah, with some of the connotations with that, I do kind of agree. There is some with the synerginess there with some things, but it's more of a pride deal between the U.S. and Ireland. It goes back further than most people think, and I know the Sicilian. Well, let's just say don't like French.
The Canadians aren't exactly huge fans of the French either.
Well, yeah, they have their different reasons, but the Sicilians have more of
The French don't even like the French.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, throw a Roman Catholic, throw a Chinese in a bar, and then throw a Sicilian in there. Yeah, what do you get for that cocktail?
Well, you definitely don't get a Frenchman out of it. I'll tell you that much.
You get that African without a bad night. Sorry on the bad joke, man.
It's okay. It's okay. But he is very, very right. It's probably something in my my DNA memory that just absolutely does not allow me to have. It's like the only place on the planet that I swear to you, if tomorrow it was absolutely wiped out, I would not be upset.
Oh no, you have two, Chuck. You have two other places on that list that we discussed: California and New Jersey.
But no, I would be kind of sad because there are people in New Jersey that are decent people that aren't completely brain damaged, that aren't completely sucked into the system. There are some aware. There I go tripping over my tongue. Aware and alert people.
Chuck, there are only 8 minutes left, and you only did it once. Consider that a victory.
But now you cursed me. Now you cursed me, and it's going to happen again. But in New Jersey, there are some worthwhile people, and in California, although I hate to admit it, in California there are some worthwhile individuals that I think would be sad to lose. I think that that's a possibility. But I'm telling you,
are you sure that there's anyone in California that's worthwhile?
Yeah, I'm positive.
There's a few I know. Personally, but
I know a few French who deserve not to be wiped out, but not many.
Right.
I have to challenge that assertion. Because
You really have a blinding hatred for the French. I don't like the French. I kind of think they're horrible sometimes, but man, that's a little irrational.
well,
A lot more irrational than mine.
you see why I said it? I'm aware it's irrational. I'm aware it's irrational, and I can't help it. I'm sorry.
It's like
Well, let's just say I already. Oh,
it's like me in New Jersey.
it's like when you mix the Irish and mix the German.
Well, see, that's the funny part is I'm half Irish and half Sicilian, so I'm a
That's fun.
walking calamity. So it's the way it is.
Yeah.
Chuck, combine that with your tech problems, I think I found your problem.
Yeah, well, that's probably the root of my tech problems. So, well, that and bad eyesight. But, hey, who's counting?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anything under stuff that's passed by your feeds this week?
Hey Chuck, can you send me the MP3 for this? I'm gonna upload it.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you can get it yourself. And since we are nearing the end of the show, you can go to ucy.tv/TOE, which stands for The Ochelli Effect, and that is the abomination you are listening to. Just in case you were wondering.
Chuck, we're not doing too badly today.
Well, but you know what? I'm on the air, so it can't be all good, brother. So,
all the shows you've done with me were fine.
Well, we've had some fun and everything here tonight, but at the end of the day, I want to say something, and that is this: regardless of what the threat levels truly are, I say that you need to live your life. You need to not be terribly afraid. Don't be sucked into the fear porn industry.
By the way, if you need any more Ebola, be very afraid.
Of course. And you stole my thunder, but I'll add one more.
Sorry, I couldn't. I
you
couldn't.
for 1 second.
Chuck, I couldn't.
Wait. Dylan, stop for a second. Hectic. Do that again. There we go.
This is getting fun.
See, it is fun to spread fear porn, but
it's not really.
No, it's not.
No,
on a serious note, I say to everybody, listen, there is no reason to be a prisoner of the propaganda. There is no reason to do anything other than live your lives, because I'm telling you right now, it's a very, very short journey for all of us, and there is only so much of it to go around. There is no reason to walk around hanging your head or letting anybody drum into your mind that it is time to be afraid, it is time to be paranoid, it is time to be absolutely gripped with the terrors of the world, whether they be biological, political, whether they be military, whether they be anything at all. Do not fear, because the bottom line is the most that anybody will ever accomplish in their lives is when they ignore their fears. The strength that there is in fearless thought and fearless action is absolutely immeasurable. So, now, I've said what I've had to say.
Chuck, I 100% agree with everything you just said.
Thank you. Hector, anything you want to add before my obnoxious bumper kicks in the next minute or two here?
Let's just say I wish the people in Japan right now, I wish them well over what's going on with that volcano. And your leader is still a dickhead.
Absolutely, as are, it seems, most of the leaders. And another amen from Dylan. And don't forget, everybody, to go find Dylan. Just look up The Truth Speaks on YouTube, on Shake and Wake Radio, coming soon to the Liberty Beacon.
You'll see me and Chuck at our best.
Yeah, possibly. But hopefully we'll see you at your best. God knows what I'll be doing. But but at the same time, what's that other new network you're on to?
CJ Marth.
Okay.
3 to 4.
Exactly, Dylan Wade, and as always, thank you so much for calling in, Hecty. I really appreciate it because it is so much fun to really just kind of trip through the stream of consciousness that is out there, and to take a look at what is and what is not realistic. And I really appreciate you, brother. Thank you for calling in as well.
Oh, no problem.
So all of that having been said. All of that and all of what we talked about tonight, again, just live your lives, understand and be the human beings that you were meant to be, please. That's all I can ever ask.
Because even if Ebola kills you, you'll have lived.
This is also true. So one way or the other, you win.
Ebola, be very afraid.
Right, because...
Sorry, one last time I had to.
Ebola has come to America, and let's just do it one more time.
Ebola.
Oh. And that's it. You know, you just gotta laugh in the face of death. You gotta spit in the eyes of devils.
Webcam microphone up close.
Webcam microphone up close.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
See, but I have the files. You know, I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, that guy, how can that be possible? The brain, you know, days and the fondle slap of choice. I don't know, computers doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real these days, because seriously, they don't want you to have degrees to